state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, the Southern Hampshire Planning Commission and committees thereof are authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. Southern Hampshire Planning Commission is utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee have the ability to communicate, I can never say this word, contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to the contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting as follows. You have the online access. Sybil, should I read that whole address for the online one?
Sorry, no, we're okay with.
Okay, all right. Let me give the telephone only access, which is the phone number is 646-558-8656. Again, 646-558-8656, and the meeting ID is 874-6481-227. Again, meeting ID is 874-6481-2271. If you have any problems accessing the meeting, please call the Planning Commission Officer, Monique Duchesne, at 669-4664, or you can email mduchesne@southernhampshireplanningcommission.org. Okay, so first item on the agenda is to call the order, and we have to do a roll call.
Yeah, we usually do the minutes and the roll call simultaneously.
Okay.
So we just need a motion on that.
So moved, Linda Kuhnhart, Francistown.
Okay, there's a motion by Linda to approve the minutes and seconded by
Andrew Haddock.
Seconded by Andrew from Chester. Okay, Celia, do you need to do a roll call on that then, or?
I'll do the roll call, and so you just I'll do the roll call. You just tell us you're here, and also your option on those minutes. So I don't believe we have Auburn in the house. Let's go with Bedford. Jillian Harris.
Here and I.
Thank you. And from Candia, we have Dick Snow. Dick, you just have to unmute yourself. And we don't hear you. You did not come in. So while, nope. Sound isn't working, Dick. So while you figure that out, let's go to Chester. Andrew Haddock.
Mr. Haddock, aye.
How about now?
Now.
President,
Seems to be working.
We got you.
Now you're working. So just a here and I would be good. Dick, we
Yes.
didn't hear.
Present and I.
Thank you. There we go. Now we're all set. Let's see. We don't have anyone from Deerfield. Derry, George Sioris.
Yes, present.
Francistown, Linda Kuhnhart.
Yes, present.
Goffstown is not here either, but we have Hooksett, Bruce Thomas.
Here and I.
Londonderry is excused. Manchester, we have Kristen Clark.
Here and I.
New Boston is here with Mark Sunan.
Here and I.
Ware is not here either, or Wyndham. Let's see, but we have some transit providers. Fred Roberge from Easter Seals.
Here and I.
Lori Makarowitz from CART.
Here and I.
Nancy Michaels from the Greater Chamber in Manchester, and also Derry Londonderry Chamber.
Here and I.
Thanks, Nancy. And Tim White from DES.
Present and yes on the minutes.
And not a non-voting member, but just to recognize Lee Levine. And to recognize, we've got Craig Tufts in the room, right? Craig, are you here?
I am here listening in, yep.
And I'm guessing, is that also Dean?
Yeah, this is Dean.
All right, we have Dean Williams. All right, great. And I'm a voting member and I'm here and I say aye.
Okay.
Okay, take it away, George.
All right, thank you, Celia. New business. First item will be the overview of the FY 21-24 tip amendment number 1, and I'm going to turn over to Carl Epic, who's going to give the background and the information on the handout that was provided. Carl?
Hey, thanks, George. Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Carl Epic. I'm Principal Transportation Planner here at Southern New Hampshire Planning. And also for those of you who are new here, from time to time, we have these tip updates and tip amendments, and I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, go right to this. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Everybody see a
You're good.
pretty view of Manchester on a sunny day like today. I think that's a view from Uncanunic, actually. So yeah, this is our Transportation Improvement Program Amendment number 1 for the fiscal year 2021-2024 period. And there's about 9 projects in here that we're going to go through. Some of them will be in your community, some of them won't be, and some of them are more of a statewide thing that may come to our local area. So I'll cover all of them, and feel free to ask me any questions along the way. Hopefully won't take more than 5-7 minutes. Again, DOT has requested that we amend our TIP, Transportation Improvement Program, to accommodate a series of project additions, meaning like there's some new projects coming in, or removals, or any funding cost-related adjustments, and then lastly, scope changes, which are something that fall under the purview of a TIP amendment. This has to go through a public process, and we anticipate that we'll be releasing it on June 7th, holding a 10-day public comment period, and then convening a public hearing in consideration of adopting TIP Amendment number 1 on June 22nd. So the first project, this is along the Turnpike. So it's a Bedford-Merrimack coded project, and it's improvement to the mainline toll plaza to institute all electronic tolling. And the proposed amendment is simply to add a PE phase and also to increase some construction funding and then delaying the actual construction to fiscal year 2023-2024. And this has all come about because the cost and timeline of the project have been updated, and DOT has decided to actually do this project as an all electronic tolling project, and that's the scope of work now. Next project is in Manchester, another high profile project, reconstruction of exit 7 on the F.E. Everett Turnpike, or I-293 here in Manchester. The proposed amendment is to remove the project from the TIP. No worries, it's really a delay. This TIP is a 4-year, and it now gets bumped into the next TIP. Both exit 6 and 7 reconstruction projects are being delayed, which is the reason. And this is due, of course, to Turnpike fiscal constraints that have been dramatically hit due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And at the bottom here, we just listed, kind of both projects, although exit 7, let's see, they're both delayed. The first one, exit 6, which isn't in this tip, from FY 25-28 to FY 28-31. And then the second, exit 7 one we're discussing right now, is construction delayed from FY 24-26 to FY 26-28. So the projects will occur, they're just delayed related to the pandemic. Next one is Nashua, Manchester, New Hampshire Capital Corridor. This is a scope only change, as listed here in the proposed amendment. They now wish to define the scope of the project as design, environmental review, and financial plan for commuter rail extension from Mass to New Hampshire. And really the reason here is that it's to match up or mirror what was adopted in the 10-year plan into the TIP. Next one is a transit project program, FTA 5339. So when these things are listed as program, they have a statewide aspect to them. This is for capital bus and bus facilities, actual purchasing of buses and bus equipment and facilities. The proposed amendment is to increase funding in the 2021-2023 funding period and decrease FY 2024 funding. And this one has come about because it's reflecting increased federal apportionments to New Hampshire for FTA 5339, which is again a specific program for transit funding, and then the related anticipated project expenditures. Another program, LTAP, or Local Technology Assistance Program, and administered by the Technology Transfer Center at UNH. This is a little bit of a semantics and again, keeping things copacetic. The proposed amendment is to simply change the notation for the work phase from quote SPR to other. And this is the reason for this is, again, it's an administrative change to ensure consistency with federally recognized work phases. Kind of a more exciting one. This is TSMO, again, statewide transportation systems management operations for ITS, intelligent transportation system technologies, travel information, et cetera. This is a good news one. Proposed amendment to increase funding in the 2023-2024 period. And the reason for this is amendment is to reflect anticipated project expenditures for 9 statewide initiatives. And we listed a few here just to give you an idea to enhance existing advanced ATMS, which is under New England Compass, which includes things like cybersecurity updates, operational needs, increased hosting. You can read this whole list. There's a whole bunch of them, things like procuring regional network architecture, strategic plans. This is all the the technology behind the transportation systems. Also things like remote traffic signal communication, which is one that's directly affects all of us. Another statewide project, the road weather information systems. Again, this is a scope only change. This time to define the scope of the project as to install road and weather information systems around the state. And this is, again, to better represent the anticipated scope of work for the project. A couple more here. Another statewide project. This is to repair signals at various intersections. And the proposed amendment is to add a new project. So this is a case where this was not in the TIP and we're bringing it in to do signal repairs at 16 locations statewide. Signals get hit, damaged, taken out, whatever, and so the DOT has determined that they need to provide some funding to do these repairs. And we looked through what's listed in there for now, and one that came out is the new signal, or actually it's meter and pedestal work in hooks at the intersection of New Hampshire 28 bypass and New Hampshire 27. And again, this is the reason for this amendment is statewide, state-funded repair project to address damage and maintenance needs at various signal locations. Statewide 43368, this is for statewide USGS 2021 ortho imagery acquisition. The proposed amendment, again, scope change only to define the scope of the project as exactly what we said, statewide USGS 2021 ortho imagery acquisition and service. We believe this is part of a broader buy. It's better to do collectively than independently. And now the amendment, what they need to do is better represent the anticipated scope for the project within the TIP. Better defined scope, or newly defined scope. And that's the list. Does anyone have any questions?
So these are,
Sure, go ahead, Linda.
these are, the amendments are amendments to the document that we got in the package, or they're included within the document that's dated, that says it was adopted February 23rd.
I'm not sure if I follow your question. We have a standing existing TIP document, and these are the specific. There's the longer list that you may have gotten in the packet, but these are just the ones specific to us. Or is that?
Yeah, we amend our TIP periodically, based on project changes and as we learn new information about projects, cost change, things along those lines. This will be the first amendment to the TIP that was adopted on February 23rd.
That answers
kind of giving you a sneak preview today. We're still working with DOT to finalize TIP amendment number 1, and like Carl said, we're going to be releasing it and publishing it for comment on June 7th. But today is basically kind of a sneak preview of here's what we know is going to be in TIP amendment number 1, and just to introduce that, the TAC will have another opportunity to provide comments on amendment number 1 at the June meeting.
Thank you.
Carl, question on you. The funding for the statewide transit, this is being reduced in 2024. Why is that?
Well, I think it was. I'm just trying to bring it up. I think it was increased in other years. try to expedite dollars being spent. Let's see, that's program FTA. Was that which one?
It's the 5339.
5339.
So it's going up significantly,
Yeah.
Dick, in 21, 22, and 23. So it's going from, $6.7, $6.8 million a year in 21, 22, up to $9.5 million a year. That's in part due to anticipated federal appropriations to New Hampshire through FTA. It gets a little fuzzier the farther you go out, because you're kind of predicting the future a little bit with appropriations, as well as New Hampshire DOT knows what the demands on the program are going to be, or anticipates what the demands on the program are going to be on the expenditure side. So this is their best guess of what that program is going to utilize. But the decrease in 2024, Dick, is from 5.68 million to 5.49 million. So it's not a significant decrease. It must just be a reflection of what they think the actual expenditures will be that year. So it's not a significant decrease. The increases in the first 3 years are much more substantial.
I'm just concerned we were going to run out of money in an election year.
Well, again, it's overall increases for the 4-year period substantially.
Mark has his hand up.
Thank you. So tell me, correct me if I'm wrong here. It's the FY 21 to 24. FY 21 will be a week from being over by the time this gets approved. So why would we be changing anything in the FY 21 period in an amendment?
Generally, Mark, this is referring to federal fiscal year, which doesn't end
Until October. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're focused on federal fiscal for the tips.
Yes, correct.
All right, thank you. That clarifies.
Okay. Seeing any other questions or comments for Carl? Seeing none. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item is the consideration of the regional public transit safety targets. There is an attachment, and we will require an action item at some point after Nate is going to give his presentation and provide the information. Nate?
Thanks, George. I'm just gonna, actually, I might need to share the screen as well. Bear with me for a second. Figure out how to do that. All right. Can everybody see this PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm going to move the microphone a little bit in this direction. Okay. So hopefully many of you recall, we had a brief presentation from Mike Whitten, I think at the March TAC meeting, that kind of introduced this topic. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but I think will still be fairly brief and kind of hit the highlights. So basically, what we're dealing with here is public transportation safety performance target requirements. So why are we doing this? Well, on July 19th of 2018, the FTA, Federal Transit Administration, published a rule, the final rule on public transportation agency safety plan requirements. That rule became effective a year later on July 19th, 2019. And what that rule does, in part, it does many things, but one of the items in that rule creates a requirement for transit operators in urbanized areas, and Manchester Transit Authority fits that bill. And metropolitan planning organizations, and the SNHPC is a metropolitan planning organization. We now need to adopt public transportation safety performance targets. Due to the pandemic, there have been a couple of delays in the timeline for when compliance needs to be demonstrated with this PTASP rule. So due to the pandemic, the compliance requirements were delayed 6 months twice. So it's been effectively a 1-year delay, and now we're looking at compliance requirements by July 21st of 2021 on this rule. So under the rule, the Manchester Transit Authority has adopted a public transportation agency safety plan, which is called a PTASP. And that PTASP includes agency level safety performance targets for the MTA. And of course, as everybody knows, CART, the Cooperative Alliance for Regional Transportation, which is the transit provider in the greater Derry-Salem area, has merged and is now under the MTA's administrative umbrella. So this MTA Public Transit Agency Safety Plan covers both essentially MTA and CART services. So MTA adopted their PTASP on February 23rd. And under that rule, which is codified as Title 49, Code 673 in federal regulations, the SNHPC, as a metropolitan planning organization, must set regional public transit safety targets no more than 180 days after the completion of the MTA's PTASP. What are these measures that we need to be setting targets for? So there are 7 of them: the number and rate of fatalities, the number of and rate of injuries, the number of safety events, and we'll talk about what a safety event is, as well as the rate of safety events, and system reliability. I'll walk through each of those in just a moment. The overall kind of, the overall theme here is that the Manchester Transit Authority is the only applicable transit provider in the region that falls under the PTASP requirements. So we are proposing that the commission adopt the MTA's public transportation safety targets as the regional public transportation safety targets. We don't see any immediate need to deviate from what the MTA's targets are, as the MTA is the only applicable transit provider in the region. So what are the MTA's targets? So on fatalities, they have had no fatalities on either their fixed route or demand response system, which is wonderful. And because of that, their plan has a target of maintaining, or a goal of maintaining 0 fatalities on their system, both the number of fatalities and the rate of fatalities being 0. And that is their target. And we would certainly recommend adopting that as our regional targets as well for the number and rate of fatalities, 0. For injuries, the MTA has a target of 2 injuries on the fixed route system, which is, if you're familiar with the fixed route system, is kind of MTA's core service within the city of Manchester, and 1 injury on the demand response system. The demand response system essentially is the CART system, as well as the shuttle services that MTA provides in Goffstown and Hooksett, and the a la carte service that MTA provides to New Boston. So based on their historical data, their target is 2 injuries on the fixed route system, 1 on the demand response system, no more than 3 for the year. And so an injury is defined as an injury requiring medical attention at a location other than the location at which the event occurred. So if somebody was injured on the transit system through an accident or whatever the case may be, and needed to get medical attention or get checked out at a hospital or a clinic, that would be defined as an injury for this purpose. And so the rate of injuries is based on 500,000 vehicle revenue miles. So basically they look at the total vehicle revenue miles on the fixed route system, the vehicle revenue miles on the demand response system, and the rate is based on 500,000 vehicle revenue miles. What is a safety event? This is a little bit of jargon. I'm not going to read this entire thing, but what a safety event is for the purpose of public transit safety targets is one of 4 things: a fatality confirmed within 30 days of an incident, an injury requiring transport away from the scene for medical attention, a serious injury, or a substantial property damage to the facility, equipment, rolling stock, or infrastructure that disrupts the operations of a transit agency. That's probably the most common. Number 4 is property damage types of issues through traffic collisions and other types of events that the transit providers deal with. So total safety events, the MTA's targets are 17 safety events on the fixed route system, 7 safety events on the demand response system, and the rate is calculated the same way we just discussed, based on 500,000 vehicle revenue miles. And again, that's based on the MTA's historic trends and data from the previous year. System reliability is the final category, and system reliability in this case is the mean distance or number of miles between major mechanical failures. And what is a major mechanical failure? It's an issue that prohibits the transit service from completing the trip, or due to some sort of safety reason or mechanical reason. So the Manchester Transit Authority has crunched their numbers for what their system reliability mean distance between mechanical failures is on the fixed route and demand response system. And based on that, they have set these targets of 30,460 vehicle revenue miles between major mechanical failures on the fixed route system and 13,764 miles on the demand response system. So that is, those are the MTA's targets in a nutshell. And again, because the MTA is the only provider that this is in the region that this is applicable to, we would suggest adopting the MTA's targets, as I've just walked through, as the region's targets. And so we would certainly welcome any questions or a motion to recommend to our MPO that the commission adopt the MTA's targets as the region's targets.
So Nate, Tim White has a question in the chat box if you want to open that up and read that.
Do the demand response data also include Step Saver in addition to CART and shopper shuttles? I think so, Tim. I can verify that. Lori is on the call. Lori, do you know the answer to this question? I don't think the Step Saver would count in the fixed route category. So I'm assuming it would, as paratransit, be lumped into the demand response category. But Lori, do you have any guidance on that?
Yeah, Nate, I'm going to go with it is included in the demand response.
Okay. Does that help, Tim? Okay, yeah.
Dick Snow, Candia recommend that the TAC recommend to the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission MPO adopt the MTA's public transportation safety targets as the regional public transportation safety targets.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dick, and I think we'll give that to Fred. Fred's hand is up over, so Sylvia, do I have to do a roll call on this one, or can we just do it?
I'll do a roll call real
Okay.
quick.
Thank you.
Bedford, Jillian Harris.
Aye.
Candia, Dick Snow.
Dick Snow, aye.
Chester, Andrew Haddock.
Andrew Haddock, aye.
Derry, George Sioris.
Aye.
Francis Town, Linda Kuhnhart.
Yes.
And we do have a representative from Goffstown. David Pierce has joined us. I don't know if you want to vote or abstain. And he might not be there. Hooksett, Bruce Thomas.
Aye.
Manchester, Kristen Clark.
Aye.
New Boston, Mark Sunan.
Aye.
Fred Roberge from Easter Seals.
Aye.
Lori McCarowitz from CART.
Aye.
Linda Dusenberry from New Hampshire DOT. I know I saw her come in. I don't know if she stayed in. All right, we'll move on.
Meanwhile, Sylvia, Dave Pierce in Gulfstown,
I guess I'm a stand-in at the TAC for Gulfstown. I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
I'm really here for the third item on the agenda.
Yes, I figured. Nancy Michaels from the Chambers,
Aye.
Tim White from DES,
Yes.
and I vote aye. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, Sylvia. Third item, moving on, overview of the regional trails plan update. You have an attachment information that Adam had sent out. So I will look for Adam and turn over to Adam to do the presentation.
All right, thank you, George. Let me share my screen here.
While Adam is sharing his screen, I realized that Phil, is that Phil Rose? That's not William Rose. So Phil Rose, are you from a community here to listen to the trails plan? I thought you were from DOT, so sorry. All right, Adam, take it away.
All right. So this Trails Plan update has been a few years in the making. We're excited that this is finally coming forward now. The original Trails Plan was done in 2012. And as you probably know, there have been a lot of changes to the trail network since then. So let's dive in a little bit. This is a high-level overview of the plan. Not going to get into every last piece of it today, but some of the main elements here, we have the existing conditions section. This is the main section detailing where the trails are at now in terms of development. We also updated the maps as part of this plan. They were quite outdated. The funding section goes over some of the federal and local funding options, challenges, and then we get into some data collection. And we did a survey in spring of 2020, and we're going to share some of the results of that. It was some pretty interesting results. So the vision of the plan is an interconnected network of trails that provide safe, equitable, active transportation and recreation opportunities to New Hampshire residents and visitors. The plan was not written in a vacuum, even though I'm the one talking today. There were a lot of partners that contributed to the plan. Craig Tufts from Central Planning Commission, who was on the call today, was a huge contributor. And Craig, feel free to jump in at any time. Maddie Diano, who no longer works for the Planning Commission, she was also one of the main writers of the plan. And then of course, we have our local trail groups, several of which are on the call today. And Cam is going to get into that in a few minutes. And then we have a section on trail benefits. Health and safety benefits are pretty substantial. The health benefits of our trail network, getting outside, getting exercise, having some recreational opportunities during COVID to stretch your legs away from traffic. Safety, the same thing, keeping cyclists and pedestrians away from traffic flow for the most part is a huge benefit to our rail trail network. The environmental benefits of getting people out of cars and on two wheels or on 2 feet. And then the economic benefits. One of the benefits that we've seen is some of the businesses that have popped up along our rail trails, including the Grind Rail Trail Cafe and Dairy. So the existing conditions section, the map you can see here, the study area runs from the Mass border in Salem all the way up to, through Concord and even beyond to the Northern Rail Trail. But we concentrated in this plan on the Salem to Concord corridor. That's further split up into 3 sections, Salem to Manchester, Manchester to Concord, and then the east-west spurs, which include the Goffstown and New Boston rail trails to the west, and the Rockingham Trail through Auburn and Candia to the east. The gaps in the trail network were another focus of the plan. As you can see here, we labeled the gaps 1 through 10, starting from the Mass border and heading up to the north. I'm not going to go into every one in detail right now, but we have Salem, the Londonderry gaps, the ones in Manchester, Goffstown, New Boston over here, Manchester through Hooksett, and then Hooksett up through Concord that Craig is more the expert on. Just as an example, the Londonderry Trail gap that we're most of you are probably familiar with, around the airport, was awarded a TAP grant in 2018. And the project is to construct a 10-foot wide multi-use path along Harvey Road to get around the airport, and that will connect to the South Manchester Rail Trail, which also received a TAP grant to tie this part of the network together. So I'm going to turn it over to Cam for a minute here, who's going to talk about the outreach that we did earlier this year to the trail groups.
Thanks, Adam. So, like Adam said, we conducted outreach to our region's different trail organizations. And the section in the plan highlights those organizations and committees and commissions are responsible for the success and in some cases oversight of the region's different trails. So each group was asked to submit information about their organization, about their role in the trail network, goals and accomplishments, and some other general information. And so the groups highlighted in this section of the Regional Trails Plan are vital to the success and growth of the region's trail network. So we felt that it was important not only to reach out to these groups, but to highlight them in the plan itself. And we got some really amazing feedback from each of these groups. And I would love to go through each one, but I'm just going to give you an example. If you can move to the next slide, Adam, from dairy. So these are just some of the examples of what the Dairy Rail Trail Group provided to us. But so just as an example, some recent accomplishments in the fall of 2020, the construction of the trail section north from Hood Park in downtown Derry to North High Street, which is the final section of the town-owned rail bed on the corridor, as well as they worked with the town on the 2021 Dairy TAP application. And one of the major goals for the Dairy Rail Trail is, of course, the completion of the trail in Derry, connecting north to Londonderry Town Line and linking with Londonderry Rail Trail. And so this is the only example I wanted to chat about today. But again, every group is highlighted in our plan with goals and accomplishments and other information about them. So once the plan is ready for public comment, please check out this section. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Cam. The next section we went into was funding, federal funding opportunities, the TAP program that we talked about last month, Transportation Alternatives. The TAC did its prioritization last month and sent that up to DOT. So that's, even though there's never enough money statewide to go around in that program, that is one of the main ways that local trails get funded. The CMAQ program is more of a, as it says, an air quality benefit program. So projects that are eligible for that have to show a significant reduction in pollution and taking vehicles off the road, that sort of thing. And then there's the Recreational Trails program, which is smaller grants that's administered by the Trails Bureau rather than NHDOT. This program, a lot of the recipients of this funding have been snowmobile and ATV trails up north, but also the Goffstown Rail Trail has received a couple of these grants, especially over the last couple of years. Local funding too, it's a matter of each trail group does things a little bit differently. There's public-private partnerships, volunteer groups, and various ways that the local groups can raise funds. Some of the challenges, this picture I took from the Friends of the Goffstown Rail Trail website, maintaining the trails. This is a pretty major project, what you see them doing here, but sometimes maintenance is as simple as removing trash, occasionally graffiti, that sort of thing from the trails, keeping them in a condition that's pleasant, that people want to use them. Fundraising is always a challenge, finding local match for the federal funds and sometimes finding volunteers to help with projects. I know the New Boston Rail Trail Group is very active with volunteer events and that sort of thing. And then e-bikes was another challenge that we looked at a little bit. This wasn't so much a challenge back in 2012 when the original report was written. E-bikes are bicycles with an electronic motor. There are several classes of them. The ones that are allowed on rail trails go up to 20 miles per hour. And it's an opportunity for folks who might not otherwise ride a bike to get on, but there's also challenges associated with that. So if Craig, if you have anything to add to that, I know you might have more on that.
On e-bikes specifically?
Yeah, just if there's anything you wanted to add.
I think you covered it. You know, it just kind of enables a broader range of people to be able to use bicycles for transportation and for getting around. I mean, my family, we have an electric cargo bike that the kids go to school on, and it's super fun, and all their friends are jealous. So, yeah, it's an interesting innovation.
I did want to add that there is an e-bike store that has popped up in Salem. It's the Pedigo company. So that kind of ties back into the economic development of the trails, a business that's directly related to trail development. So data collection, on the left here, you see a flyer that SNHPC put together a year or two ago to send to our communities. It's an overview of the counting that we do, trail users. We've done some manual counting in the past, but more recently it's been using this gray box. I don't know if you could see it in the picture. It's right here on the, I think that's the Londonderry Trail, and right here on a sidewalk in Manchester. So we count at many locations. I think we're up to 36 trail locations we've counted at now in our region. The map down here, this is also an interactive map if you go to our website, but the blue dots are trail locations and the orange ones are sidewalks. So we've done quite a lot of counting since we purchased these infrared boxes about 3 years ago. On the right, what you're looking at is a 24-hour profile of trail usage in Londonderry, starting at midnight and going to the end of that day. The orange line is summer usage and the blue line is winter. So you can see a peak in usage. The 9 o'clock hour is the biggest peak of the day. And then in the evening around 6 o'clock, both in summer and winter. Obviously the summer volumes are 2 to 4 times the winter volumes, but it's interesting to note that the pattern is almost identical no matter which season we count it in. So the survey we conducted, Maddie took the lead on this. We did this back in spring of 2020, just as COVID was starting. We had 238 respondents from 40 towns throughout the state, but the majority of the respondents were from Londonderry, Hooksett, and I think Derry was the third most responded town. So here are a few of the results. More you can see in the plan. So how do you find out about the trails? Local knowledge and word of mouth were by far the top ways of finding out about the trails. I thought that was kind of interesting, more so than local websites. This says roadside signage, it got cut off there. And then, so another interesting thing to note was the demographics of the survey. We tried to do outreach to different age groups in the towns, but the respondents were 50% of the respondents were over the age of 55 and only 10% were 35 and younger. So we weren't the most successful in finding the younger people to fill this out. That may affect some of these results. So another sample question, what safety maintenance concerns do you have for the existing trails? Trash, litter, and graffiti was the top answer, with almost 50% of respondents noting that. Parking issues was number 2. And then we had dogs at almost 40%. Some of the other responses, let's see, pet waste, debris on the trails, lack of crosswalks, lighting issues, ATVs and snowmobiles, and fear of crime were some of the other things people mentioned. And then what improvements could be made to the existing trails? The top two answers were maps at trailheads and mile markers. And then down here, better trail signage. Those are kind of all in the same category. So I think that was a major area that people wanted to see improvements around the region. Parking again is mentioned here, benches, places to sit. And then some of the other ones here were the same as above, but also someone noted they wanted to see more information on the businesses near the trail. And someone mentioned bicycle maintenance stations, which there are a few around the area, but I guess folks want to see more of those. So that's just a sample of the survey results. And that was a very quick overview going through the plan. I hope to send the plan out to everyone by tomorrow at the latest. So the towns have been such a great help, and the trail groups so far. And we'd love to hear your feedback, whether right now verbally, or you can send written feedback to my email address, and we'll do our best to incorporate all of that, because the local communities and the trail groups are really who make this plan what it is. So thank you, everyone.
Can I add a couple things, Adam?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to thank you guys at Southern. You guys put a ton of work into it. I think it's a great plan. And also your counting program, I wanted to give you guys kudos. We had a pilot program several years back where, you did the learning and tested it out, and you ran with that. And I think you've got more counts than anybody. So, that's awesome. You've got some really good data and a really good program started. And then the third thing I just wanted to say is, when we started this thing back in 2012, it was kind of innovative because all these local trails were happening independently. And this was one of the real first efforts to document what the regional vision is and how it all fits together. So I think, this is a really good document for people to look at and see what's going on and see what the possibilities are. And I also want to say there has been a major development in Concord for anybody who's a real trail enthusiast. The city of Concord has a purchase and sale agreement for a 6-mile stretch of rail trail along an abandoned piece of railroad bed in Concord. I can put a little bit of information in the chat if anybody wants to read about that. So every day there's good news trickling in, it seems. And that's all I've got. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Craig. And I meant to ask Sylvia and Cam if you had anything to add that I might have missed.
Yeah, I just want to thank all the regional trail groups for participating. It was really great to reach out and get such a wonderful response. I've never seen so many trail photos of different animals on the trail. Horses, dogs. I wouldn't be surprised if there are pigs being walked on the trail. There are just so many people out and about on the trails, and we had a great response. We have several different trail groups here today, and I'd just like to open it up if any of them would like to share any story.
Mark, Mark, it's George. We're having a hard time hearing you.
You sort of sound like a 75 record on 45 or something like that. I don't know what happened.
No one under the age of 30 is going to understand what you're referring to, Sylvia.
Okay, well, the rest of them know.
Mark, can you chat? Mark Carnage, do you want to just send something in the chat with your question or what comment? Okay, thank you. While Mark's doing that, Dick, you had your hand up. Dick Snow?
Adam, can you send me a copy of your presentation, please?
Absolutely.
Just any other questions or comments? I'm looking around. Great job, Adam, and everybody in the rail trail groups and the staff. Again, thank you very much. That was excellent. And Craig, too, for your input.
So
Okay,
so the trail plan will be sent around. We'll have it posted on our website. We are going to send it specifically to the trail groups because we wanted them to certainly have some input. Again, reviewing what we already got from the trail groups. I see Norman's hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Sylvia. I just want to say thank you for the work that Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission has done on the trails piece of your responsibilities. I mean, the trail counts have been invaluable to us as a rail trail group to go to our town and show the usage in hard numbers and get funding for additional improvements. So that has been a huge help. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for putting it together in a regional perspective as well. I think that's important for Southern New Hampshire. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Norman. Adam certainly touched base on our counts, our bike ped counts. And those counts are utilized in grant applications frequently. We also continue those counts. If anyone has a special spot they want for us to do some counts, please let Adam know. We're quite happy to go out and work you in our schedule. Dave.
Yes, the trail counts are very important, and I urge the Planning Commission to continue them on an annual basis. For example, here in Gulfstown, the last count that was done over a 20-day period, it showed for the 5 work days of the week, every day at 5:30 in the morning, there were travelers going towards Manchester, and between even up till 7:30 at night, there were traffic coming out of Manchester, presumably commuting home. And those type of counts are very important to show that commuters as well as recreational users are out on the trail.
I just want to, thanks, Dave. I just want to also note Mark Connor's comment. He's just thanking Adam for the trail counting on Dairy Trail to help get the dam project completed. Now, I don't know if you mean a dam project or that dam project, but also wanted to suggest we continue to push the idea of the full Granite State Rail Trail network as we continue moving ahead. The idea of a state-long trail is attractive to those who travel on the rail trail. And also a quick plug on our passport program. We are working with all the communities that are on have a rail trail. Many of them, we've posted the passports right onto the kiosks by the trails. If you still want one of those, let us know. I know Derry was one of the groups that didn't want one at their trailhead, but it is at the cafe grind thing there. I see Jason's hand is up.
Yeah, hi. Thank you all for putting this work together and gathering it from across the region. One question on the counting. So the counters that are across the region, do we track those against cities of comparable size to see how we're doing?
We have not done that yet.
Is there a way to get access to that data so we know where we're at and maybe set some targets where we want to go?
I can definitely look into that because I know other cities do counts. It would just be a matter of finding comparable locations, trails within a city versus outside, commuting outside of a city, that sort of thing. But I'll definitely put some time into that.
Yeah, I can talk to you about that, Adam, too. Also, it's really tricky to do car counting. Cars are so predictable that you can get one number and then make all sorts of adjustments. But with bikes and pedestrians, it's so variable that that kind of thing is tricky. But we're learning how to do it. So that's a very good question.
And if anybody's interested, James has put into the chat box our interactive map on bike ped count locations. So thanks, James.
Yeah, it's a little clunky in finding the data, but if you click on some of the buttons, when you click on any of the locations, you can find more information. And if you're just struggling with the format of the online map, you can always email Adam, and Adam can coordinate with Zach to get data over to you as soon as possible.
Yep, for each location on that map, we have a one-page PDF summary, shows average users per day, shows some of the patterns throughout the time we were out there. We do try to get back to the same locations at the same time, annually or biannually, so there's more direct comparisons can be made. So as the program develops, now we have 2 counters. We're able to do a little more comparison year to year than we used to. So it can be a very useful tool, and please do reach out if you want a count done, because we can definitely help you out with that.
All right. Oh, Dave, you wanted a little more? Yeah.
Yes, and compared to, I have had interest in the Gulftown Rail Trail now going on for 12 years, but I appreciate what I regard as the more recent possibilities being documented by this plan. The Gulfstown Rail Trail needs to be connected to the new Boston Rail Trail by a half mile of some sort of a bicycle lane accommodation on a state highway. And I know DOT has had a tentative demonstration or willingness to execute such a construction. And this plan simply keeps that idea alive. So maybe 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to need that connection along a state highway. And the plan is the vehicle that keeps that idea alive. And I appreciate that.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I hope this conversation and presentation has inspired everyone to check out the plan. And I know Adam will have that up on the website, if not today, tomorrow. All right, George.
Sylvia Dixno, could you send me a copy of the Zoom recording?
Yes, and James, this is great segue for you to talk about the recordings. I know you wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Sylvia and George. If I may, as part of other business, I just wanted to note that the federal government, through Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration, is pushing MPOs across the country to make a broader effort at virtual public involvement. And that is materializing maybe sort of unexpectedly through COVID. We're doing what we're doing right now with using Zoom to hold an official meeting. That really is sort of constitutes a keystone of virtual public involvement. But there are ways we can incorporate virtual public involvement into other parts and procedures of these regular meetings, whether it's through the TAC meeting or the policy committee of the MPO. And that involves incorporating new audiences into the meetings. And so what we do right now is we post on our webpage notice of the meetings. We post on our bulletin board notice of the meetings, both TAC and policy committee. And we send out a mailer, a newsletter, email, and a email to participants and members. And that makes up the bulk of what we do for noticing meetings. And so what we'd like to try to do is incorporate into our procedure a process of noticing the meetings through Eventbrite, which would then go out to Facebook and Twitter. And so that these more commonly adopted social media platforms then have a way for people to come across our meetings and register for the meeting if they want, or not register, but they'll have access to a link to join the meeting if they so desire. And so my personal goal for the office is to roll this out as a test for the next TAC meeting and then the June MPO meeting. So roll this out in June for both TAC and MPO Policy Committee. And I just wanted to inform this group that our intention is to try this out and see how it goes and see if the meeting still runs smoothly. And if for whatever reason it doesn't run smoothly, we can readjust and re-review this to see what changes need to be made in order to reach a broader audience, make sure they're aware that these meetings are taking place. And so I just wanted to notice this group and let them know that that's something we're going to try out for the next meeting. And if anybody has any comments, feel free to reach out to me or share your thoughts. And that's it. Thank you, Sylvia.
One last thing on this is the actual recording itself of the meeting. So you'll notice that this meeting is being recorded. And what we do is we put timestamps on the different presentations. And so our staff takes this, puts it, loads it up to YouTube, and it actually has a drop-down menu where you can look at the different agenda items and just click on the agenda item. If you just want to see, for example, the trail presentation, you don't have to go through the whole meeting. You can just click on to that agenda item. So we've started to do that, I believe, last month. And Monique in our office has been working hard with James and Adam to get this to happen. And they are even going to create a short video, like a 30-second video on how to do that, in case you're someone like me who needs to be have their hand held to do all this different clicking. So anyway, just wanted to let you know, as far as getting the copies of this presentation, it'll be all on YouTube and that will go up on our website, but we can get you specifically a copy sooner if you want one, and that includes Dick. All right, George, back to you.
No problem. Thank you, Siva. Any new business or other business?
Dick Snow. Todd Sillig, the city manager in Durham, had put out an op-ed recently to indicate that Zoom meetings should continue after the emergency orders disappear. I know Sylvia had given me, there's an SB 95 that I don't know what's happened to it, but I think that it's essential for transparency and accessibility and expansion of what they're looking for the MPOs, that Zoom meetings continue after the elimination of the emergency orders.
Yeah, but I would like it if we could sometimes, like some people do, show up at the office, because it's really convenient for me after we have the meeting in Manchester to go get a pizza.
Well, we're hybrid right now. If someone wants to come into the office, we just have the policy rule to wear a mask in the office, but we have the conference rooms set up with partitions, and you can come in. We hope to continue that, to have both online attendees as well as folks who want to come in person. And so we're hoping to work on that. And Dick, just so you know, the SB 95, they had public comment period. I think it was last week or the week before, I'm not sure. It all sort of runs together in my calendar brain, but I did send a memo out to the House, I think it was the House Judiciary Chair and that committee, speaking about this and telling the story of why we would like to continue having a virtual components. I know Rockingham Planning Commission also submitted a memo stating for their own reasons why they want to continue. So there is a lot of support for that, and I can appreciate your concern. All right, I think we're just ready for to adjourn at this point, unless there's any final comment.
So move to adjourn.
Okay, have a motion by Linda. Can we get a second to adjourn? Someone need the seconds, please.
Second.
Okay, Mark Zunin.
All right, great.
Thank
And
you,
I saw
Mark. All those in
Julian.
favor, just a thumbs up. Okay.
Thumbs up on that one. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
See you in a month. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.